Welcome back. It's time to continue with the second part of the day, mainly focusing on partnership. The next presentation will be the project example that I have been already mentioning before. It will cover mainly how was it? It's a project from the past, so it will cover mainly how was it to manage the project, what are the do's and don'ts if you are running a project, when you're looking for partners, what to do, what not to do, what to think about yourself, and so on. So this will be an example from real life given by a person who has actually been part of that project. So let's welcome Olof Bratthall from the Swedish police and hear more about this example.
Thank you. Well, hello, my name is Olof Bratthall. I'm a police officer. I work in Stockholm at a unit called Department of National Operations. It's great to come here to Riga and have the opportunity to share my experience of interacting in a project. I got this experience when I was project manager for a project called Safe Baltic Cruises. The project was founded by Central Baltic Interreg. Today, during this presentation, I think it is not so important to talk about the purpose and goals of the project itself. The focus today is to tell you about the experience we did and how we worked in the project with our partners, and what we think we did well and what we could have done better. My main focus today is partnership and the importance of creating a common problem scenario and a clear common objectives as the basis for a good collaboration. I will also mention some thoughts about the importance of creating conditions to measure outcomes and goals after the project has ended and the result is implemented in the daily work. To succeed to make this speech concrete and hopefully interesting for you, I will start with a short briefing about the project Safe Baltic Cruises. And if we get back to this first PowerPoint slide, I think it's a good way to tell you about what the project handled about. You could see the first picture, the black and white. It's an original picture from a surveillance camera in the corridor on the ferry. It's a man who have just raped a woman inside the cabin. The woman was very intoxicated, and the man was also very intoxicated. The other picture is from the project. You could see representatives from the Swedish police, the police from Finland, Åland, Estonia. You can also see representatives from the big shipping companies on the Baltic Sea. And from an organization called STAD, Stockholm Prevents Alcohol and Drug Problems. We are sitting on a ferry in Tallinn and look how to prevent the crimes on board the party cruises on the Baltic Sea. During 2007, the Stockholm County Police noticed an increase in rape crimes on the ferries in the Baltic Sea. The explanation for this was a greater readiness to report rape crime and more ferry traffic. In almost all crimes, alcohol was and still are a part of the crime. The crimes mainly occur in connection with weekend cruises. It is not quite clear if the crimes are committed late at night or in the early morning hours. Most victims are so drunk, so they don't know if the crime is committed early in the evening, night, or in the morning. The crimes have a strong connection between the presence of alcohol together with young people. Ordinary crime is that a man and a woman meet on the ferry and goes together to an after party in a cabin. During the after party, become the woman so drunk that she falls asleep or cannot resist when the drunk man rapes her. The crime are difficult to investigate for the police because of the intoxication. They don't know what had happened. The Stockholm County Police took the initiative to set up a project called Safe Baltic Cruises. And you can see at the slide here who cooperate with us. It was the Stockholm Police County, the Finnish police, the Police Authority of Åland, Estonian Police, the organization STAD, Stockholm Prevents Alcohol and Drug Problems. And we cooperate with the not signed partners, the Tallink Silja, Birka Line, Viking Line, and the Finnish authority called Valvira. And the duration of the project was about 2 years. We had funding from the Central Baltic with about 800,000 euro. No, sorry, the total budget was in the beginning about 800,000 euro. And we got fundings from the Central Baltic with 600 euro. And we worked with 3 different focus areas. The work in the crime prevention work was led by the organization STAD in close cooperation with the ferry companies. And if I quickly could explain the purpose of this focus area, it was to reduce the over-serving of alcohol on the ferries, and then the number of rapes on the ferries should decrease. The ferry staff was educated in what we called RBS, responsible benefit serving. The second focus area was the cross-border investigation. It was the Stockholm County Police together with the Estonian Police who had the responsibility for this development. And we had a great work together. And the Finnish and Åland Police had the lead of the third focus area, joint supervision of serving alcohol. It's a problem because today there is no unified legislation regarding the serving of alcohol at sea in EU. And our national legislation is not always possible to use. Sweden, the country with perhaps the most need of this legislation, have a total lack of useful legislation in this purpose. And of course, the shipping companies was in the project as well. They were very important partners for us because the output of the project was meant to affect the company's business future. There are, in my opinion, 3 important factors that are the basis for a good cooperation between authorities and organization. This may sound obvious, but it's something which, from my point of view, something we often do quite bad, which leads to a poor and meaningless interaction. My opinions here are based, perhaps most of my work, to improve the interaction between the police and municipalities in Sweden, and not from this project. But it's very close. The 3 important factors are to create a joint picture of problems together. The second, create a clear common goal and the aim of the collaboration. And get a clear structure and rules for cooperation. When your ideas of need of development starts to take shape, you need to think about who and why this idea concern. It requires a clear pre-study, a plan of what you want to do with your idea, what effect you want to reach with the activity, and how over what time period you want to work. The next important step is to identify the partners who are affected by the problem and the needs of development. And when you have find your future partners and make them interested to work with you, you have to make them to take the first step to participate with you in the preparation work, to let them see their needs and possibilities in your development project. In order to progress in this planning of development, I think it's a successful factor if you present a letter of intent, including a plan of the preparation work for the upcoming project. I think it's a great advantage if you could write a plan for the preparations. And you have a cooperation agreement number 1. And having come this far, you have formulated your own development idea, an embryo of a joint problem scenario, identified and started up a collaboration with your partners and signed a letter of intent. It is again time to think about the value in the future collaboration for your own organization. The purpose can either be economic or might be good in other ways. Already here you should start to work on a plan how your organization will implement the outcome during the project and when the project is over. Likewise, thoughts and plans on how the results can be measured should be written. And then you are on the next step, joint preparation again. You have to make sure to take a lot of time to this joint preparation work, where the structure and future work will be planned in detail. It is very important during this time that all partners must agree on a common, clear picture of problems, formulating clear goals and structure of interaction. How can you ensure sustainability results, and how can you measure the results when your joint work is over in the future? This work is based on the close contact between the different organizations that will collaborate. They are based on a work with shared responsibility. During this work, the application to the Central Baltic, including the project budget, is written as well. It is most important that all partners participate in this work. We worked for about 2 years with the preparation to be able to work on the project for 2 years. Quite a long time. But with a joint preparation and participation, and with a hard work from all project partners, they increase the potential for a good project results, I think. And here is a picture for our preparation work. When the city police area in Stockholm in 2008 became aware of the problem with rapes on the ferries, and noticed that there is a great potential to influence the situation, we contacted and started a successful cooperation with the shipping companies in Stockholm. Together with the shipping companies, we conducted a workshop. One result of this workshop was the opinion that it was necessary to develop the cross-border crime prevention work and the crime investigation work if we should have a joint successful in reducing the numbers of rapes on the Baltic Sea. We understood that the work of the police officers in other countries was needed. We wrote the first agreement, a letter of intent with the shipping companies, and I took contact with the contact point in Stockholm with Annika Claesson, and had a real great help from her to understand how Central Baltic is and what we need to do. The city police applied during 2009 from the Baltic Sea unit of SIDA, today it's called Swedish Institute, I think, for founding the first pre-project aimed to establish contacts in Sweden, Finland, Estonia, and the Åland Island. And together with these new partners, design and complete application for a 2 years development project. We found the partners, and together with these colleagues, we conducted several working meetings and workshops and pre-study for the crime prevention work. Of course, was the shipping companies included in this work as a very important partners. And in the end of 2010, we had a joint application for our Safe Cruises project. And I think all partners could agree in this joint application. And it was founded by the Central Baltic Interreg program. And here you could see the planned results for the project. We had a long-term and sustainable reduction of rapes on the Baltic Sea, safer cruises, more travelers, an improved cross-border police investigation work, develop and communicate a common vision of the supervision work of serving alcohol on the ships in the Baltic Sea. And how did it go? Well, as you could see, when the project ended, we had educated 500 crew members on the ferries in what we call RBS, Responsible Benefits Serving. We have joint safety rules with the shipping companies. We have an alcohol policy with the shipping companies. They said that they have zero tolerance of disorder in the cabins. Now, 2 years after the end of the project, we note that the shipping companies has not continued to train their staff in the RBS concept. They refer to the common security and alcohol policy in mass media if they need to give a statement, if they have negative publicity. But I think it's quite obvious that the two largest shipping companies do not act by the rules and the alcohol policy in their daily work. However, there are 500 crew members out on the Baltic Sea who are trained in RBS. We have improved the condition for the police investigations. We have a network of contacts being between the shipping companies and the police in the different countries that's still working. We have one meeting each year and have good contacts with the shipping companies when needed. The Swedish police in the project have put a proposal to the Swedish Justice Minister to change the Swedish law so that the Swedish police can work with the supervision on board the ferries. I had a wish when we started the project that the number of rape crimes should decrease every year. The number of people who travel and party on the Baltic Sea increase every year, but the number of rape crimes are unchanged. What could we have done better? The project budget was difficult to work with. We missed the participation of the other partners when I took the responsibility for doing this budget myself. We had short of time suddenly. We did not spend equal time in the budget work as in the project work. This caused major problems during the project. The understanding for the project members was not so good. They didn't understand the budget work. My advice to involve all partners in the budget work from the beginning and spend time to really penetrate the budget rules very carefully. The lack of this work for us was a concrete risk for our project. 2 years after the project is over, I feel that we have lost a lot of profit in the daily work. Both the Swedish and Estonian police have reorganized themselves. Police officers who was involved in the project have changed jobs. Perhaps we would have worked more with some kind of functional responsibility. Yes, and we should have realized that the shipping company's profit motivation is very high. They participated in the project at their own expense. But after the project ended, it have been really difficult to motivate them to continue to work with the results from the project, including the training for the staff in RBS. We have also difficulties to measure the results of the project. We are not allowed by law to cross-checking statistics on crimes regarding to personal data, etc. between the countries. And with the other goals, we worked with raising the quality in, for example, police investigation work. It is difficult to measure. And now, what did we do well? Before we started the project, we had established a strong and common image of problem that was shared by all partners. We worked together with and established together a common goal and structure for the work. These two factors would not have been possible without the preparation project SIDA, or the Swedish Institute founded. The pre-project gave us opportunity to work together, and this was necessary and a great success for the work in the project. And thanks to the participation that was built up during the preparation work, we got a very strong team spirit in the project, which also got stronger by the responsibility of leadership that the partners had in their different focus areas. Yes, and respect but affect different cultures. There is a difference between the various countries and companies' culture regarding different issues. A clear example of a cultural difference was the issue of the right of a drunk woman not to be raped. This subject was very central to our project and frequently discussed. I'm proud that we had managed to affect these different opinions. Depending on what the future project handling about, it may be a good idea to do an internal risk assessment, an action plan for cultural differences. And I think we had a learning organization because the Safe Baltic Cruises brought together staff from different work categories and countries. Police, staff from the shipping companies have been involved in the process. The work has created a fair understanding of work condition and practice in different countries. There have been an active exchange of knowledge between all the participants in the project. From this knowledge, we have, together with the employees, developed the RBS method that has been accepted by everyone involved in the project. The power of making all involved and allow them to contribute their own skills is very successful. And I hope the management for the shipping companies will be able to consider a more modern leadership and use this capacity in the future. That was all.
Thank you. Do we have any questions that you would like to use the opportunity and ask from a project member about their experience in finding partners, managing the project, do's and don'ts, hints, clues, whatever? Everyone turned so serious now. We have one question here. Here you are.
Helen Bonman from the Swedish Institute. Upon the transportation, the ferry companies, they don't do anything with this now. Have they just skipped it? They don't work with it at all?
No, when they have problems, they connect us, but they don't educate their staff in the RBS, and that is very sad, because they had a very good contribution to the education themselves.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
There is one more.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Could you tell about the statistics after the project and about the rapes? Did the rapes decrease in processes or increasing?
I have not numbers of rapes for this year, 2015, but you can see it on the slide here. When we start work with the project in 2000, with the preparation for the project in 2007, 2008, It was about 43 rape crimes on 1 year, and this is only the Swedish number of crimes, not the other countries. And then the best was 2011, and last year it was about 25, something like that, each year. So it's too many. Yes, I don't know why.
Anyone else? Yes, one.
Do you think that the bigger involvement of social media would have helped? I mean, to create the social pressure on the shipping companies? Because obviously people are interested to diminish the trade.
Yes, I think we had a TV production called Kalla Fakta. They worked with a hidden camera on board a Tallink Silja ship. And then they created a mass media thing that was not a good publicity for the Tallink Silja. And they contacted me, and I think it was a good program. So yes, they could help, but the Swedish people are still going on these party cruises and drink too much alcohol. So
I work in state emergency medical service, so I understand you.
Yes.
Anyone else? No, we just got going, so. I guess not for now. Thank you, Olof, for this presentation. Seems that we need some cheering up, and that is about to happen, luckily. We will continue with Stewart Simpson, who will speak about partnership, forming partnership, finding partnership, being a partner. And we have divided this into 2 sessions. So the first one will be more about Stuart speaking and discussing with you, so that our online audience can also be part of that. And after the first session, before we break for coffee, the streaming will end. And for people here, we have one more session, which is more active and needs your presence. That's why we can only stream until the end of next session. And that is a cherry on the cake, why you should be until the end of the event to get something extra. And we hope that this will be useful, inspiring, and valuable for all of you in different ways. But let's continue. Stewart Simpson, EU Projects Content Coordinator from the European Office at Vienna Board of Education.
Hi. Hi. Yeah, it's great to be here. I was really inspired by this morning, all the speakers. Thank you very much. Also, Olof, very serious topic, but a very, very, very important topic. Yeah, Stewart Simpson. I work in Vienna in Austria. So I came from the south yesterday by plane. It was very warm when I left Vienna. When I arrived in Riga, it was freezing, pouring the rain. And I thought, okay, super. Feels like home, because originally I come from Scotland, from Edinburgh, the capital. And I was also brought up in the sea. It isn't the Baltic Sea, it's the North Sea. So I know something about the sea, and I know something about fish, and I know something about all maritime things. My father was a fisherman. So some of my slides today will be showing fishy things to do with fish. Okay, the title of my presentation is here. But how do I switch it on? Sorry. This one. Great, thanks. But when I saw the final program, because when Kirsty kindly invited me, I had this title, and then I got the agenda of the meeting. I thought, wow, I should have stuck to the agenda, Going for Concrete Results. What could have been a better title? So although my slide presentation or my little speech is about forming good partnerships, blah, blah, actually it's more about going for concrete results, because I think that's what project work is all about, and that's what we've been hearing this morning. It's all about, and this is the new part of the 2014-2020 program generation, we're going for concrete results. 3 words: going, concrete, and results. So here they are down here. I'm just going to comment very briefly, and as Kirsty said, I'm working for this half an hour or 40 minutes, and then I hope you will come back after the coffee break, because then you're going to work, and I'm going to stand here and watch you, and I'm going to time you, and I'm going to shout instructions at you, and I'm going to monitor the results. So it's going to be exciting. You're going to be moving around. I hope you'll come back. Going. First word. Okay, going is all about action. It's all about doing things. It's all about, I would think it's all about energy, and it's all about motivation. I don't know if there's anybody here, and I am not one, who is a professional project doer. That means all of your life and all of your time, all you do is projects. I'm sure there's nobody here, or maybe there is, some strange specimen who just does projects. But I think the most of us have something else to do. We've got a normal workload that we have to carry out every day, which we normally get paid for. So the first thing that you need to do any project, of course, is motivation. You have to be motivated to do the project, of course. Otherwise, if you're not motivated, you won't have the energy, the extra energy that you will need to do the project, because project work involves extra energy. You have to get the energy from somewhere, and this will be one of the points in the presentation. Sometimes the energy drops off, the energy level drops off, and it begins to affect the project. So I'd like to give you some practical points. I come from project background, obviously. I work in projects. It's not my full-time job, but I do work in projects. But I come from the transnational type of program. Normally in Vienna, where Austria, where Vienna is situated, I work on a program called Central Europe. Don't know if you've heard about it, but anyway, I work with Central Europe, but I also work with cross-border projects with the neighboring countries, with the Czech Republic, with Slovakia, and with Hungary. So I've also lots of experience working in cross-border. And the PowerPoint today, the slides are really the summary of my experience over many years working in projects with partners. As Olof mentioned, the do's and the don'ts. I'm trying to emphasize today that more the do's and not so much the don'ts. So anyway, going. Going stands for action, movement, doing something, and that is what projects are all about. I'm reading what I wrote here. Concrete. The next part is the word concrete, and we've heard about it today, that the new program generation, as I said, is all about concrete results. The EU 2020 agenda. If you go to get your eyes tested in the UK, if you're one of these unfortunate people like me that needs to wear glasses, and you go to the optician and you get your eyes tested, there'll be one wonderful thing you'd like to hear from the optician. I never hear it because it's not true in my case. He says to you, or she will say to you, you have 20/20 vision. Now, I don't know if the people in Brussels, when they came up with the EU 2020 agenda, know about this. Sure they do, because in Brussels, everybody knows everything. So they probably knew it. But 20/20 vision means you have perfect sight. You can see so clearly, it's unbelievable. And in a sense, the 2020 agenda is all about a very clear vision for Europe for the year 2020 and afterwards. And I think there's nothing more exciting, at least for me. I mean, there's lots of things that are exciting. But in the context of project work, I don't think there's anything more exciting to be part of that process of developing a very clear, a very tangible, a very good picture of a continent that we live in, a continent that we pay for, a union that we pay as you and I do as taxpayers. So I think it's really important for us to be involved. And finally, results. The word came up this morning. It will come up again and again and again and again and again. Because results, and I would like to add one word to the word result, results have got to do with change. We are in the business, if you're doing project work, we're in the business of change. We are changers. We change things. If you don't change anything, then there are A, no results, and B, there is no progress. If you don't want to change, if you want to leave everything the way it is, then okay, fair enough. Then you don't get involved in project work. So, we've already heard this morning, so I'll skip over what is the agenda. We know smart growth, green growth, inclusive growth. And Central Baltic, as we also heard this morning, has developed 4 program objectives to fit into the EU 2020 agenda. And they are responsible, they are liable, and they're also accountable, the Central Baltic program, just like all the other programs, to the European Commission, to the European Parliament. They are accountable to do what they said they would do. And what they would do is they put it into a document, into a strategy, into a cooperation program, which they sent to Brussels. Brussels looked at it, sent it back again, then they made some changes, sent it back again, and this ping-pong went on for probably months, maybe even years, I don't know, until finally the Commission said, okay, now it's good, and we'll give you the money. So they get this money, and now they've got this big pot of money and these wonderful things they've promised to do, and there's only one tiny problem: they can't do it themselves. They need you. So all the programs, of course, need projects. They need projects to do what they said they would do. So you are helping the program, but of course you're also helping yourself. Good. This is the program area. We've seen that again and again this morning. And the whole thing starts, I think, with different people in different countries, in different regions, and they've all got something in common. And that is, they've got a problem. If I ask you, do you have a problem today? You'd probably say, me? No, I don't have any problems. You can't tell the program that. You must have a problem. You must have a problem. Or an issue. Or a challenge. Sounds nicer if you call it an issue or a challenge, but in fact it's a problem. Because a problem is something that needs to be alleviated, something that needs to be changed, something that needs to be improved upon. So we look at the situation like in Olaf's case, a very, very serious problem. They suddenly noticed, for some reason that nobody could explain, for some reason, very serious crime started to increase. That is a huge problem. And your problem and my problem doesn't need to be as serious as that, but of course it has to be a problem. So first of all, it's all about checking what I call, or what it's called. It's called the baseline, where you start. The baseline is always the point at which you start. So you look at the baseline and say, okay, this is the present situation. I would like to improve it. I think it needs some change. I think it needs some improvement. So you start thinking about it, you start working on it, and you start to communicate about it, because you cannot change the baseline yourself. You need help. You need other people to help you. You need other partners. You need other institutions, and so on and so forth. So the first thing to do is to sit down and to analyze the present situation. The program, Central Baltic and others, give you much help and tell you what the problem is, what are the issues in the area. Sit down, analyze. But as I said, you can't do it yourself. You need people that have the same problem. That's why I've written here, hi, I think I've got some problems. Yeah, me too, and me too, and me too, and me too. And then you get lots of people who have all got the same problem. And then you can sit down and decide, okay, how are we going to solve it? Together. Because we need to do it together. It's a problem that's not just our problem, it's a problem that others have. And also something that was mentioned this morning, and I'll tell you in a minute how I think you can get a hold of partners. Another thing that was mentioned is it's not just enough to have partners that have the same problem. They have to be also partners or institutions that have the capacity or the means to change the problem. I mean, everybody can see, let's say, I mean, again, I go back to Olaf's example, although it's a very serious example. Everybody can see that what he was talking about is a serious problem. Obviously, in the Baltic Sea, I'm sure it's the same or it's similar other places. But in the Baltic Sea, it's a huge problem. But if you or I said, okay, I see that's a huge problem and I want to change it, and you're working for a kindergarten institution, which is fabulous, you're going to have difficulty challenging and changing that problem because you don't have the capacity to do it. That's why they were working all these police, very frightening, all these police organizations and stuff like that. So one of the questions is, does the partner have the same issue, the same challenge, the same problem, and at the same time, does the partner have the means to change it? So, quick sidestep, how do I find like-minded partners? Any suggestions? How do you find somebody that's got the same issue, challenge, problem as you? Any suggestions? Shout it out.
I suppose I will have to tell others about my problem.
Very good. Otherwise, they won't know. Any other suggestion? Yes. Anything else? I'm going to suggest 3. You've got one of them. What could the other 2 be? Networks, yeah, that's not one of them, but it's a good one, yeah. Anything else? Yeah, okay. Anything else? Yes, also. I'm going to suggest 3. You've got several possibilities, definitely 3. You've probably got more. Some of them we've heard just now, but I will suggest 3 to you. The first one is just simply contact people in institutions that you have worked with before. You know them, your institution knows them, you've had previous experience. You know that they are reliable, they know that they're good partners and so on. That's fairly simple. Obviously, you work with people that you've come to know, come to trust, and all the rest of it. The second thing is contact your national contact point. I'm going to read out to you what I wrote down about the contact point. I hope they're listening, because I'll get lots of chocolate afterwards. What is the national contact point? They are very nice people who have only one goal: to help you carry out good projects. They will help you find partners in other countries. They will explain how the program works. They will even advise you about your project idea. In fact, they will almost do everything for you, except do the project. You've got to do that yourself. So, national contact point. Excellent, excellent, excellent. It's a great idea. Whoever thought about the national contact points, they should get a medal. And finally, somebody mentioned it, you could cast out your nets. This is my first reference to maritime life. Fishermen, fisherwomen, fisher people. Cast out your net, and let's see who swims into your net. Look at all these nice little friendly fish. They're all swimming into your net. So how do you do it? in the context of Central Baltic, you go to the website. They've got this wonderful thing called the Partner Search Notice Board. You put your idea there. That's what the homepage looks like. I'm sure you know it. And if you look here, you've got the Partner Search Notice Board. You put your idea there, your template of your idea of what you're looking for, who you're looking for, blah, blah, and all the rest of it. And then you get lots of nice little friendly fish swimming into your net. And honestly, I think this is one of the best ways. You know, I love working with partners that I've worked with before. A very concrete example. In a project that we've just finished in Central Europe, we had 12 partners. And we said, okay, we're going to go for a new project in this program period. The call was beginning of March. And out of the old partnership of 12 partners, we asked 3 of the partners that we'd worked with in a previous project if they'd like to be part of a new project. And we called these people, or we called those institutions, the core partner group. And with them, we developed the project idea, we defined our common problem, what we wanted to change, what we wanted to improve, and then once we got that kind of clear and fixed, then we cast out our net. And I put the project idea on the Central Europe homepage, and believe it or not, I got 150 people asking me, or institutions, it was 147, but okay, 150 sounds better. 150 partner institutions say, can I please be part of your project? I thought, wow, what am I going to do with 150 curious, interested people? And so then we started to filter through. We sent out to them a template and asked them for a partner description, legal status, previous experience, why they wanted to be part of the project, blah, blah. And then based on that, we then we couldn't have 150 project partners. We had to make a selection. And of those new partners in the new project application that we've handed in, don't know if it will be approved, so we'll have to wait and see. We now have 14 partners, quite a large partnership. So 3 old and 11 new. And the 11 came from the net that we cast out. I didn't know any of those partners before I wrote the application. I met them then, of course. We had a partner meeting, we had a preparation meeting, but I didn't know them, who they were before. And I thought it was fascinating because I got to know lots of new and very fascinating people. So that was great. I got 3 oldies and 11 newies. And if it keeps on going, then in a new project in 2000 and whatever, 19, 18, then we'll have another 4 oldies from the now newies, and we will add on, and you'll find out in a minute why that is important. So casting out your net is really important. And if you don't have a net to cast out, then still go to the home page and look at somebody else's net. Maybe you could swim into their net and become their partner. So that's one way of doing it. Okay, let's continue quickly. Okay, step 1, we've all got the same problem. Issue, challenge. Let's look for concrete solutions together, and then I'm going to jump to step 3. We've achieved the concrete solutions and the results that we've planned together. We're all happy little hippos. The project's over. But in the middle, and that's number 2, we've got the project itself. And I'd like to talk about that for a minute. I think I've called it, it's just because I should tell you, I have an artistic background. I studied art in Scotland, so actually my first job is art teacher. So I taught art at school. And I've got an artistic background. I'm not drawing and painting so much as I would like to, but I used to do a lot of drawing and painting. And I think project work is like being an artist. I call it artists for change. So if you know, think of Van Gogh or any painter, artist that comes into your mind, and they're standing there in front of this huge blank canvas. Big white canvas. They've got their paint pot, their paints, they've got the oils or the whatever kind of paints they're using, and they're standing in front of this, and they don't just start, maybe some artists do, but the normal artist has a clear vision what he's going to put on that canvas. He knows before he's finished how it's going to look when it's finished. In the course, if he's a good artist, and all the artists are good artists, in the course of the painting, he will make adaptations. He will change things. He said he was going to paint, he had this picture he was going to paint, let's say it's a very traditional painting, of a house and a tree, and he decided that the tree is going to be brown, the trunk and the leaves are going to be green. And in the middle of the painting he says, nah, I want the trunk to be blue, and I want the leaves to be yellow. And then suddenly he changes it. But the vision of what he wanted to paint is there. And I think project work is just like that. You're standing in front of this huge canvas. You've got a vision of what you want to do because you want to change something. You've got a problem, an issue, a challenge that you want to change, you want to improve on. You've got a clear vision, what you're going to do, and then you start working on the project. And projects are dynamic. That's why it's always a challenge, because you write all this stuff in your application form, normally a year or I don't know how long before you actually start the project. So I tell the project authorities, I will, let's say, if our project is approved that we just applied for, it will be we will start in April 2016. And I wrote the project application about Christmas. So I'm telling what I'm going to be doing, or what the project's going to be doing, almost 1.5 years in advance. I'm going to have so many meetings, blah, 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 blah. But in the course of project work, you start to adapt, you start to innovate, and you start to work on new solutions because things have changed, or you just think it's a better idea than what you did before. Okay, before we move on to the concrete part of my presentation, because I'm nearly running out of time, just one point, and that is the question of togetherness. I said we're all happy little hippos. I hope you don't feel offended if I compare you to a hippo, but they're happy little hippos, yeah? They're happy. And at the end of the project, we're all happy little hippos who want to work together forever and ever. Another word for that is, of course, in program language, that's called sustainability. And this is what also has been a fact, or something that's been mentioned this morning. You've got to think from the very beginning how, what's going to happen after the project is over. Somebody was talking this morning, one of the speakers was talking this morning, I think it was the very first lady, she mentioned the question of trust. If you remember the birthday cake, 25 years into Reg, at the bottom was trust. And I think, personally, one of the most fascinating things about project work is getting to know other people, getting to know different ways, also Olof mentioned it briefly, of finding out how other people work, finding out how other cultures work. Because we are all absolutely convinced that our way of doing things is the best. My way of doing things, I am convinced, is the best. If that is the way I want to work, then I will never work on a project, because then I'll do it myself. I don't need you because your way is not the best. And I think it's so exciting to find out that my way is not always the best. In fact, my way is sometimes not very good, and somebody can do it better. They've got a better idea, they've got a better approach to it, they've got a better attitude, and I think it's really, really fascinating for us to work with other people in other countries and other cultures. Other languages, always a challenge when it comes to languages and all the rest of it. And I think this is probably one of the hidden agendas of project work, is getting to know other people, and also, in the case of what I mentioned here, as you can see here, they've fallen in love with each other, that after the project you have learned, I don't know, you've learned 20, got to know 20 other new people, or 30 other new people, from another country, from another culture. You've worked with them in a certain context for 2 to 3 years, and you want to continue to work with them. And this is the hidden agenda of the European, I think one of the hidden agendas of the European Union, when we're talking about cohesion. Cohesion is just not about bringing regions together. We hear a lot today about growth and jobs and all these things, all very important, no question about it. But cohesion is also bringing people together. Getting to know each other, getting to know different countries, getting to know, I thought the example this morning of the bilingual dictionary, amazing. Yeah, something as simple as that, but it was caused quite a stir. And that's what EU funding is also about. It's also about bringing people together in our wonderful continent of Europe. Okay, so let's concentrate in the last few minutes on actual what we need in a partnership, in a project. So we're in the project, and I like to compare a project with a ship. So that's why the binoculars are focused on this little ship here. What do you think, if I ask, not about the people, but what is the most important part, do you think, of that ship? What is the most important part? Huh? The flag. Okay. The flag. I didn't think about that. The flag, yeah? Sorry? The construction, the hull, yeah? The engine. Can you see the engine? What can you see? You can see the steam or the smoke coming out the chimney, or the funnel, as it's called on a ship. But you can't see the engine. But if there was no engine, what would happen? They're in the middle of the Baltic Sea, and there's a storm, and you say to them, okay, you start rowing. The nearest harbor is over there, about 60 miles down the road. No, the most important part, I think, of any ship is the engine room. And the analog to a project, I think the most important part of any project is the partnership. Sometimes you can't see it. You just see a little bit of smoke. But it's the most important part. That's why you must spend a lot of time on the partnership, especially at the beginning of the project. So I've defined 4 domains. I call them domains, but you can call them anything you want. 4 domains where I think it's really important. This is the engine room. 4 domains that you have to concentrate on. We'll talk about that in the closing few minutes. The first one I think is most important is to create a common working culture. Tell you what that means in a minute. Second thing is a common understanding of the project and its goals. Third, a common sense of ownership of the project outputs. And finally, a common internal communication culture. Go into these in a few details. First one, a common working culture. And I think if I wasn't, I don't know if is Olof still here? Yeah. There was one slide you showed, Olof. It looked like the people were dancing. They were dancing. Okay. And they were dancing together. or they were trying to kill each other. But they looked as though they were dancing. I thought it was lovely. Your project will not work without the people in the project. So you have to spend time on them as they will have to spend time on you. You have to get to know them. You have to take care of them. You have to respect them. And you have to keep them in the picture. They have to know what they're doing. And that's why I picked up the picture from Olaf's slide presentation of the dancing. When we have when we've decided on the partnership on any project, no matter whether it's cross-border or transnational or whatever, we always have a partner preparation meeting where we get to know each other. And I can't think of any better way of getting to know someone is to dance with them. And as I come from Scotland, I always do, with the partners, I always do Scottish country dancing. Scottish country dancing is wonderful. All you've got to be able to do, and I think everybody, I always tell them, because everybody says, I can't dance. Because when I say Scottish country dancing, they think of these pictures they've seen in some films of somebody dancing around swords. Yeah? With a kilt on and all the rest of it. That is not Scottish country dancing. That is Scottish Highland dancing. Scottish country dancing, anybody can do. 3 things. You have to be able to count to 8 in English. Yeah, I think most people will manage to be able to count to 8 in English. Second thing is, you like to be touched. And you like to touch other people. I mean this in a very proper way, touching their hands. You don't do nothing else, just touching hands, maybe touching their shoulder. And you like to laugh. You like to laugh about other people. Everybody likes to laugh about other people. But the most important thing, you like to laugh about yourself. When you make mistakes, when you get it wrong, then you start to laugh. And people involved in country dancing, they really get to know each other. Within half an hour, all the ice that has ever covered the Baltic Sea will be melted, will be broken. But that's only one example. You can think of other examples. The most important thing is to get to know each other, get to know people. So you have to get them to the point when they say, I am looking forward to working with you. That's even if they don't say it, that's what should be in the back of their minds. Oh, wow, this is great. I'm looking forward to working with you. Second thing, a common understanding of the project and its goals. And this particularly affects people who are project idea owners, i.e. people who have written the project or have got the idea. Normally, at least it's my experience, normally you know the project very well. You know what you're talking about, and you assume that everybody else knows what you're talking about. And that is wrong. Even if you've started off with a common idea, or a common problem, a common challenge, a common situation, issue, do not assume that people know what your, quote unquote, your project is about. And I've experienced this when I first started in project work. We were halfway through a project. It was an Interact 3C project. We were halfway through it, and we had a partner meeting, and I found out that the partners had no idea what the project was about. I thought it was kind of late, halfway through the project. They were doing what they thought they had to do, but they had no idea why they were doing it. And from that point on, I decided, okay, I have to explain to everybody, if it's my project idea or our project idea, then I have to explain to people what the project's about again and again and again and again and again. And the way you have to do it is by using illustrations, using pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Don't send long project idea, template, blah, blah, 30 pages long, and nobody in all the world will ever read it. And then they'll say, thank you for your project idea template. And if they're nice and polite, they'll say, very interesting. And for you, it's ticked off. God, they've understood it. Forget it, they haven't understood it. Send them a PowerPoint with a couple of pictures, with a couple of diagrams, a couple of bar charts, a couple of whatever you want to do with a few words. You have to get the people to, if you're getting involved in a real partnership and you want to make it work, everybody has to understand what the project's about. Otherwise it doesn't work, because that brings us on to the next point, and that is the common sense of ownership. If you don't understand something, then you don't feel it belongs to you. And if it doesn't belong to you, then you don't feel responsible for it. Ownership is an absolute prerequisite for responsibility. If you don't feel you own something, then you will not take care of it. If the whole of the world worked like this, then we would not need to have, for instance, just one stupid example, we would not have to have people who go about every day and all the day almost and clean the streets and empty the bins. If everybody felt, okay, this is my street, this is my park, this is whatever, my square, then I have to look after it. I have to keep it clean, just like I keep my house clean or my flat clean. You wouldn't throw newspapers and Coca-Cola cans in your flat on the floor. You would put them away carefully. But outside, that's everybody's street. This is everybody's park. It's not my park. I'm not saying everybody thinks like that. But if we don't have a common sense of ownership, then we will not look after things. Did I go the wrong direction? No. And finally, the last part is a common internal communication culture. This is very important. Maybe I'm saying to you the obvious, but these are things that I have found out that are really, really important. I looked up in Wikipedia what a habit is. What is a habit? And in Wikipedia it says, a routine of behavior that is repeated regularly and tends to occur unconsciously. A routine of behavior that is repeated regularly and then it becomes almost unconscious. And if you look at your own life, as I look at my life, we all have good habits and we all have bad habits. You have good habits because you started to do something and you continued with it, and it sort of became something that was fixed in your life, so that even now, in many cases, you don't even think about it, you just do it. On the contrary, you have the same thing with bad habits, things that we have started to do and we continue to do, and then they become unconscious. In a project, we only want good habits. Otherwise, we've only got 3 years to live together and work together, and then we have to make sure that these 3 years, as we heard from Olof partly, that some time was wasted. We cannot waste time, because time is money, time is effort, and we don't want that. So here are some suggestions. This is particularly for transnational projects where we're working with countries. Maybe it's not such important for the Central Baltic because you all know each other, at least as far as countries are concerned. I think you know when there's national holidays. But we always set up a calendar of national holidays. So if you send a mail to this guy in Italy, he probably won't answer because he's on holiday. So you always look at the mail you're sending out. Is he going to answer? Because the next point is important. Every email should be answered within 2 days. And an answer can also be, I'm really sorry, I'm very busy just now. I've got other things to do, but I'll get back to you next week. That is also an answer. But no answer is a no-go. Because A, you don't know, was the mail delivered? B, what's happening with the partner? And you can't pick up the phone every time, and you can't rush off to visit them. So there has to be a basic rule that everybody has to answer within 2 days. Third point, At least in transnational project, we have 3 people who run the project in the lead partner team. That's the project coordinator, the finance manager, the communication officer, communication manager. They have to be copied into every mail. So if the partner's writing to the finance manager about some financial issues, the project coordinator is CC'd and the communication manager is CC'd. So everybody in the lead partner team knows what's going on. This is really important. And the final thing I've written down here is a clear understanding of reporting responsibilities. One of our first sessions is showing our project partners how to report, particularly with partners who have never done EU-funded projects before. So, last point, and then we're finished. Almost on time. Postscriptum. Even if you've managed all of this at the beginning, I'm looking forward to working with you. I understand the project fully. It is also my project. I'm looking forward to it. I want to be kept. I want to keep you, and I want to be kept in the picture. You've got all this set up at the beginning of the project, and then something could happen. And that's what I call, or not just I, but many other people, not just me, the sleeping partner. You ever met sleeping partners? You ever had sleeping partners? Somebody who falls asleep. And in many cases, for no fault on her behalf, on his behalf, something has happened. They leave the institution, they get married, they have a child, I don't know what. And suddenly, at the beginning, they were so active, and you think, my goodness, when we did that Scottish country dancing, they were jumping around and so enthusiastic. And I haven't heard from them for 3 months. What's going on? Sometimes, as I said, the energy levels drop, or there are circumstances beyond one's control where you become a sleeping partner, and it's a huge, huge burden on any project partnership if you have sleeping partners. So you've got to do something. So I've suggested some things to do. Keep them on board at all costs. We have a possibility in the transnational projects, theoretically, of getting rid of a partner who doesn't work anymore. But for me, that's not an option. So this is what we would do if we were lead partner team. We'd talk to the power of 10. That means talk. Phone, write mails, talk, and so on and so forth. Motivate. Understand what their problem is. Have they just lost interest, or are there other problems that have cropped up? Visit them. If the worst comes to the worst, you have to go and see them. We're a partner, and I won't mention any names, and I won't mention any country, but it was south of Austria. So there's not too many countries south of Austria before you get to the Mediterranean Sea. And I had to go, and I was lead partner of that project coordinator at the time, so I had to go and visit them. I spent 2 days, and I'm not saying it was so fantastic, but it was necessary. Sat down with them and said, listen, this is a no-go. What's going on? And we worked out what we could do. Analyze the problem. If the worst is draft up a legal agreement with the legal representative of the institution. The worst comes to the worst, inform the JS, but that really is the worst. You don't do that right away. Call Kirsty or one of the JS team and say, listen, I've got this horrible partner. They haven't got back to me for a week. They're sleeping. That's the last and the last and the last. And the most important thing, keep hoping that it will get better. So here were some practical suggestions about project partnership. As I said, if you'd like to stay on, I hope you will, and come back for the next session. It will be very practical. You will be doing all the work. I hope you will have fun, and you will go home feeling a better person. See you after the coffee break. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stuart. But before we break for coffee, I just want to say that now we end the streaming part. Thank you for following us there. And if you didn't have any chance to watch the whole day, the morning session, we will upload the recording shortly after the event, and also the presentation, so you can feel free to go back, go through the slides, remind what was said. And in order to be updated and informed about our upcoming events and most importantly news, all of you and also people behind on the other side of the camera, join our newsletter that you can do on the website, and we will make sure that the information will get to you. I'm just so glad to see that everyone is smiling and we don't have any sleeping partners here in this room. So thank you for watching us. Come back, join us next time. And for you here, we will go for the last coffee break and then come back at 3 o'clock, or now we can take extra 5. So 5 minutes after 3, and continue with the very practical workshop. Enjoy.